I've managed to form a steering committee of some pretty good community people. I have Bob Dustermars from the United Way, Rob Johnson from the city, John Hill, the police chief, Jonathan Greenberg, the superintendent of the Paris Union High School District, Linda Calloway, the superintendent of the Menifee Union School District, Ryan Sharp from Generations Church, and myself. And we're going to be meeting with the regional director of Boys and Girls Club, and Marianne Edwards from Temecula. She's a city council member in Temecula. She's also the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club of Southwest County. So they're going to help us get this off the ground and moving. I'm very excited. I think we're probably going to work toward being an offshoot of the Southwest organization so that we can get it up and running quicker. If we go for full charter, it's going to take a couple of years, but I think that we can probably get it moving a little bit more quickly. I have one last thing that I want to talk about here, and I actually typed it out so that I would not forget anything. We recently had a situation arise at City Hall that has since been disclosed to the public. Our city clerk recorded one of our citizens during a telephone conversation regarding the redistricting committee. At the time, Ms. Pika was the chair of the committee, and from what I understand was on the phone discussing meeting schedules, agendas, and minutes with the city clerk. At some point in that conversation, the city clerk felt it necessary to record the remaining conversation. Currently, the issue is with the district attorney and out of our hands, but that isn't what I want to discuss today. What I want to talk about is how we got to this point. And how we got to this point is by allowing a very small contingent of residents to strong-arm, bully, and abuse our staff. We have, like I said, a very small group of people, led by the same individuals who campaigned very hard against cityhood back in 2008, and who apparently decided upon incorporation to oppose everything stemming from cityhood. The amazing thing to me, well, one of the amazing things to me, is that this group touts itself as advocates of the community and that they speak for the people or are acting on the will of the people. Well, newsflash, the will of the people was to become a city, as evidenced by the overwhelming yes vote in 2008, 62 to 38% to be exact. That's a supermajority. And contrary to what you may believe, when you incorporate and become a city, you actually have to act like one. Now, I'm in no way saying that these individuals do not have the right to scrutinize the work that the city council does, question or oppose decisions that the council makes, voice their displeasure at situations, or get up to the podium and speak their minds. This is the beautiful thing about this country. You are completely within your rights, as afforded you by the First Amendment to the Constitution, to do just that, speak your mind. What you are not allowed to do is abuse and harass our staff. Nowhere does it say that city staff is required to listen to insulting and hate-filled comments, and that is what you continually bring to the table. This has been going on for more than 3 years, and shame on me and shame on my colleagues for allowing it for so long, but it stops now. I do understand, though, how it was overlooked and allowed to continue for so long. It's very difficult to make changes and to stop such inappropriate and horrific behavior when you have sitting council members who not only condone it, but encourage it, engage in it, and in some instances derive pure pleasure at every vile word spewed out at the podium. This is nothing more than a tactic of bullying, and for crying out loud, even the school districts have policies against bullying. How pathetic that we must take our lead from schools and implement an anti-bullying policy in order to protect our staff. For those of you who are not privy to the types of comments our staff are subjected to on a daily basis, let me give you a few examples. But let me start from a personal one. The very day that I was presenting, in my effort to be appointed to this council, I was up at the podium and I was talking. And as a matter of fact, I was talking about the Boys and Girls Club. And I was talking about how much we need in this community, things for kids to do, for kids who are not involved in organized sports. And what I heard behind me was Ms. Pika telling me that it's not her job to raise my kids. I could not even finish my comments in my presentation because I was being jibed. She had never set eyes on me before. My first meeting with Ms. Pika and Greg August was to discuss the redistricting committee, and the meeting was fine. They had absolutely valid comments. There was nothing nefarious about it. They were talking about the how cumbersome it might be to get the 3 maps done, and I agreed with them, and I said, you know what, you're right, I didn't consider that, I'll take it back to the next council meeting, I'll mention it at council. Mr. August asked me if I would make a motion. I said, I don't know that I have to make a motion, but if I do, I will. And he said, well, you better or else. And I thought to myself, or else what? You don't know me, you're threatening me, I've told you I'm going to do what you want me to do, and you're still threatening me.
That's not true.
There'll be no comments.
There'll
be no comments. Or
I think it's my turn. I think it's my turn. I listened to this
I would
respectfully
like that one person
over and
to
over.
leave, please. Would you please take him out? That's a great office.
You can leave him
Let's
here.
all leave.
You can leave him here. That's fine, it'll be on the record.
Majority moving.
Let's go.
I will continue with giving you some examples of the kinds of, I'm going to keep talking because this is my turn to talk. Some of the examples of the things that have been sent to our city by this small group of people that I think need to end. When our city attorney, our interim city attorney was appointed, we received an email from Ms. Pika that said, in all caps, "Great choice, City Council. Another lawyer with a questionable background. Just one more nail in the coffin for the city of Menifee. Seeing how this guy's got run out of town with thousands of dollars in taxpayer money, hate to see what will happen to the taxpayers in Menifee in just 4 months." They didn't even know who this man was, and they disparaged him. They have asked for his termination. On November 14th, Ms. Pika made a public records request with Kathy Bennett. Ms. Bennett responded that there are no documents available to that kind of what Ms. Pika was requesting, but that didn't stop her. She continued to barrage Kathy Bennett with emails, often with all caps, question marks, exclamation points, questioning her ability, her capability. This is her job. We have, I'll just give you a couple of the most egregious ones, because I have several here if you want to see them afterwards. We have one here where Ms. Pika attests that Ms. Bennett has no idea about the public records 10-day waiting period. We have the one where she questions her ability to read the English language. How's that for coming to work and listening to that? I could go on and on. We have a public records request from Ms. Pika, and then we have a duplicate public records request from somebody else copying Ms. Pika. If they are absolutely identical, what is the motivation for sending 2 public records requests within 2 days of each other? To me, that is pure harassment of a staff member. Now, I don't want to discourage people from coming up and speaking their mind. That is what you are absolutely supposed to do as members of the community when we are doing things. That does not mean anyone has the right to treat people this way. So I ask you, everyone out there who has some sense of common decency, is this how you'd like your daughter, son, mother, sister, brother, friend, or anyone else to be treated, solely for doing their job? I'm betting that the vast majority of people in this city would agree that this is beyond the pale. And let's not forget how this specific incident started. Mr. August initiated a records request, which he is absolutely within his rights to do, make no mistake. He initiated a public records request for the city of residence for all staff members. When the city clerk informed him via email that the city of residence is personal data for each employee and that it is held in a confidential personnel file to which she did not have access, and even if she did, it is illegal for the city to disclose that, Mr. August continued to batter her via email and phone calls, insisting that it is okay for him to have that information. I am not sure if Mr. August simply does not understand the concept, or if he truly believes that the law does not apply to him. I can't speak for my colleagues, but the reason I'm here on this council, my motivation, is to work for the betterment of the entire city and its residents. I recognize that we have limited staff and resources, which means that we need to be as efficient as possible. I believe that the staff should focus on the entire city and its population of almost 80,000 people, not spin their wheels trying to accommodate the unrealistic expectations and demands of a small group of people who constantly harass them just to be disruptive. And that's the conclusion I have come to. That is the ultimate goal, is to be disruptive. If there was something positive or valuable to our community as a whole, that would be a different story, but I haven't seen that. It's all controversy and speculation. I don't want staff to spend 1 more minute spinning their wheels trying to accommodate what cannot be accommodated. I want staff to focus on more parks for kids, provide additional services for seniors, focus on public safety, put in place some programs for veterans, and generally look for and work toward improvements for our city, again, as a whole, not just the few who are the loudest. What I will do is what I've always done. I will listen intently and respectfully as you routinely walk up to the podium and hurl accusations and recriminations, and I will thank you for your input. That's absolutely your right. I don't deny you that in any way. All the while, I wish that you would take that overabundance of energy and translate it into something even slightly positive for the city. But I suspect you're not capable of doing so. And don't forget, Ms. Pika used her position as a representative of the council as the chair of the redistricting committee to bully and abuse our city clerk to the point that she felt she needed to record a telephone conversation in order to protect herself. That tells me we need to be much more careful in overseeing how our appointees are treating the public and our staff while working on our behalf. I have to tell you, in the interest of transparency, 2 of my fellow council members have warned me not to upset this group of individuals because they are very vocal and could negatively impact any future chances I have of election if I choose to run. Thank you for the advice. I do recognize, and I mean this sincerely, that you were truly trying to help me, but I have to say, if my political life depends on whether I turn a blind eye to how this group treats our staff and other residents who dare voice an opinion that differs from theirs, then I don't deserve to be here. How could I stand up in front of people during a campaign and tell them that I have strong moral and ethical character while allowing this abuse to continue? I would like Mr. Rawlings in the near future to return with recommendations which could include guidelines for recording phone calls, if necessary, and training of staff on when and how to do so appropriately. I believe we need some customer service standards and training for dealing with bullying that will enable and empower city staff to avoid unnecessary contact with persons who cannot conform their behavior to minimal standards of civility. I'm assuming this needs to come back to the council for a vote. If so, I will bring that up again in the future agenda items section and would request that it be expedited to the next meeting so that we can get the protections in place for our staff. Enough is enough. They're great people. And I know this sounds completely combative, but I have to tell you, I see what goes on here. I'm copied on every email that is sent to us, and the treatment of our staff is absolutely unconscionable. And that's part of my job as a council member. I'm out there doing what I'm trying to do, the right thing for our city. And part of that is to make sure that our staff is able to do their job unimpeded by unnecessary attacks. That's all I have to say on that subject.
Councilmember Furman.
Thank you. Just another note on canine support. All right. I have pulled the contracts with Ramona Animal Shelter and with the Friends of the Valley, and I've discussed this with Mr. Rawlings also. And their contracts are coming up, and another possible maybe aid that maybe there's some responsibilities that canine support can do that and take away from Animal Friends and Ramona, that possibly they could have some financial support from the city. So that's being looked at. Their contracts are up next year, and Bill Rawlings and I are going over those contracts right now.
Thank you.
Councilmember Edgerton.